Grace and peace to you from God our Father, from our Lord and Savior, Jesus the Christ. Amen. Last week we began our journey called The Story. And chapter 1, which I called the overture to the story, was all about God and God's plan and desire to do life with God's people, with you and with me. But in that overture we learned that the other major characters, humans, didn't embrace God's vision for them, didn't embrace God's vision to do life with them and to enjoy the presence of each other. They wanted to do life on their terms, in their ways. So the overture sets things up. Sin has broken in and has fractured relationships primarily between people and God. And now the rest of the story, as Paul Harvey would say, is about God pursuing God's people. God embracing God's people. God wooing God's people in order to be in relationship with God's people, with you and with me. And God began, as is the title of chapter 2 of the story, by building a nation. The idea here was this new nation, which would come from Abram and Sarai, would want to know God and would want to live in a relationship with God just as much as God wanted to live in a relationship with them. And then other nations, other peoples, when they saw Sarah and Abraham and their descendants, would see that they had something was making them tick, something was indwelling them, and they would want that as well. They would be drawn to the God of Israel. It all started, as we heard Verna read, with a call to Abram and Sarai. God called them to leave behind all that was familiar to them and to venture out in faith to a new land, the land of Canaan, the promised land. So he promised them land. He promised that they would have descendants more numerous than the grains of sand on a beach, more numerous than the stars in the heavens. And he promised again that they would be blessed. Isn't that a great promise? But that they would be blessed to be a blessing, that all the peoples around them would be blessed through them. And the thing is, there's an amazing verse in Scripture, amazing 2 words. They went. They did it. They trusted enough, they had faith enough to obey, to go someplace that was a lot of bit, I'd say, uncertain. God called. They went. God still calls people today. And I'm not talking about just the call to public ministries that pastors receive. They can tell you their call stories. But what I'm saying today is that God calls all of us. In your hearing of this morning, God is calling you. God is calling you to step forward in faith. God is calling you God's children. God is calling you right now to follow. To love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. To love your neighbors as yourselves. You are called right now into a new or renewed relationship with Jesus Christ. You're called to love and serve God by loving and serving people. People who are all around us, who are made in the image of God, but who have their own set of needs and hurts. Physical, spiritual, whatever it might be. There are people all around us looking for meaning and purpose. And here's the goofiness and the importance at the same time of God's plan. It's through you. It's through you and me that God intends to reach out and touch these people and to embrace these people. That's our job. To make a difference in Jesus' name, to be a presence for God in the world, so that like Abraham and Sarah, the nations would look and they'd see, these people at St. Andrews, they got something. They got something that I want, something that gives them somehow this depth of joy and peace. And not only in the good times when the sun's shining, but a depth of joy and peace that is more powerful than our deepest sorrows and our deepest pains. I'm not suggesting that if you follow Jesus Christ, you're not going to have sorrow and pain and struggle. You will. It's called being human. But in spite of that, as we live in a relationship with Jesus, as we are blessed with that relationship, we can make it through those times. We can make it through when it feels like the world has beat us down. We can make it through when we feel the burden of everything crushing us. Because we know that Jesus is always with us. That no matter what the circumstance, that Jesus is walking right beside us, guiding us even. We know that. And the rest of the world can see that. And they'll be drawn not only to you, but drawn to Jesus Christ through you. You are blessed to be a blessing. And while that's true of you and as of me as individuals, it is also true of us together as this body of Christ, as this family of faith, as St. Andrew's Lutheran Church of Grand Rapids. We collectively now, as this family, are called to be a beacon of hope, especially to those who feel hopeless. We are called as this family to be the presence of Jesus, to love on behalf of Jesus all people, but especially those who feel unlovable. We are called to lift up those who feel pushed down. We are called to love again and lift burdens with those who feel burdened by life. I believe that we live in a time and a place where there is great longing for belonging and purpose and meaning and love. And you and I, we, St. Andrew's Lutheran Church, we are here. We've been called by God for such a time as this, to make a difference in Jesus' name. For such a time as this. That's why there are balloons and banners and cinnamon rolls. It's our theme for our capital appeal that we're kicking off today. So what's this appeal all about? You'll read all about it in your initial packet. Please pick them up. It'll save us postage. But in a nutshell, we've determined that we have a tired and worn facility that needs some tending to. It needs to be a welcoming presence, so people want to be here, so that people are drawn here and then drawn to the God of Jesus Christ. And we want to do that, tend to these facility needs, while at the same time strengthening our ministries, rather than tending to these things that need to be tended to at the expense of our ministries. We've got work to do, folks. We've got work to be the presence of Jesus Christ in this community. We can't let some facility needs slow us down there. No. Okay, so that's one thing that this appeal is about. The second thing that this appeal is paying off our mortgage. 33 years later, we still have a mortgage. And we want to do so. Why? Not so we can feel good about paying off a mortgage. It's not bad having a mortgage. I have a mortgage in my house. That's not a bad thing necessarily. But we want to do so to free up resources that we have to make a difference in Jesus' name through our ministries. That's what we're about, the ministries that Jesus is calling us to. And thirdly, we believe, well, this is from the story of Abraham, in fact. We didn't read it in this text today, but it's in the story. Abraham gave 10% of what he had to this guy by the name of Melchizedek. That's the genesis, if you will, of the tithe. Giving away 10% of what we have. We want to give away to support ministry partners that we have 10% of what we raise. Can you imagine what an infusion of means and resources that could be? Whether it be for a local organization like Second Harvest Food Bank or the Grace House, or 33 years ago we received lots of money as this congregation began from other congregations. Wouldn't it be pretty neat to now to be able to pay that forward again? That's what this is about. This is all about being in the presence of Jesus so that others can come to know Jesus. All right, so when we were thinking, that sounds pretty good, Dave, but I know myself. And I'm really not the person here. You see, I'm not Abraham. I'm not Sarah. I'm not good enough. I'm not faithful enough. I'm not righteous enough. You know what? You're right. Because I'm not either. I'm not. But let me remind you that Abraham and Sarah and their descendants were far from perfect. For those of you who read the story, you might have discovered that Abraham lied twice about Sarah being his wife, and that almost resulted in Sarah being married to this other king, and that would have squandered God's promise for descendants to Abraham and Sarah. Just they didn't trust God too much. And then there was that thing about getting a little old to have children. Abraham and Sarah were getting up there in age, and Sarah was barren, and Sarah and Abraham decided to take matters into their own hands. Oh, Abraham, says Sarah, we can't have children. You go have children with my servant girl Hagar. And Abraham said, okay. Twist my arm. No, they didn't trust God that God would carry through or follow through on God's promises, so they took matters into their own hands. And as you read the story, you saw that the next generations were just as messed up as the parents before them. Isaac and his wife Rebekah had a dysfunctional family. Rebekah loved Jacob more than Esau. Isaac loved Esau, the other son, more than Jacob. What a messed up family already. And then Jacob steals a birthright and inheritance from his brother Esau. Then he has to run away for fear of his life because Esau's going to kill him or something like that. And then he runs away and he falls in love with this girl. But the dad of the girl, tricks Jacob now into marrying another one of his daughters. Dang. Now he's got to wait, be a servant for 7 more years so he can finally marry the woman of his dreams. And we think, what in the world is this? It's to say that you and I aren't that different. We're not perfect. The way that the Apostle Paul puts it, he says that we have this treasure, this blessing from God, but we have it in fragile, cracked clay pots. To show that this treasure, that this power belongs to God and not to us. Now that's an image I can live with to describe me. And I'm looking at all of you right now, and that's an image I hope that you can be comfortable to describe you. A cracked, broken, fragile clay jar. Rather than a giant in faith, right? That's who God calls. It's exactly who God calls. People who, get this, people in the midst of brokenness, and you know brokenness. I know brokenness. People in the midst of their brokenness, of feeling like this broken, leaking jar, can be filled again and again with the living water that is Jesus Christ. People in the midst of hungering for something, with this gnawing hunger in their guts. And don't you sometimes have that? Isn't forward to this. People who in the midst of that gnawing can come time and again and to feast upon the bread of life. People who time and again are reminded and therefore are filled with an assurance that Jesus is the resurrection and the life. That's who we are. People who experience that and who experience the promise and the presence of Jesus Christ, and who can therefore point others to the living waters and the bread of life. It is for such a time as this, and for such an important juncture in our lives, that God has called you and me today to be here, to be part of this family of faith, to be the presence of Jesus in the community, to make a difference in Jesus' name.